Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Radha Vallabha Radha Vallabha Sri Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Bhakta Prala Jaya Bhakta Prala Jaya Bhakta Prala Jaya Bhakta Prala Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol श्री श्री गौरनिताय की श्री श्री राधा वल्लभ भगवान की श्री 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 जगन्नाथ बलसुभद्र मय की शिल प्रभुपाद की निताय गौर प्रमंदे Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming for this Friday Śrīmad Bhāgavatam discourse. So today we are reading from a verse from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Canto 7. Today's verse actually glorifies transcendental qualities of Prahlad Maharaj and also innocent qualities of his classmates. This is the last verse of the chapter today, chapter 5. So this is the last chapter, last verse of the chapter 5 from the Canto 7. And of course, the title of the chapter is Prahlad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. And today we will hear the saintly qualities of Prahlad Maharaj from his guru, that Narada Muni. Narada Muni glorifies the transcendental quality. And of course, he glorifies also innocent qualities of his classmates. So we will discuss those, and that will be the conclusion of this chapter. Okay, so before we move on, let's pray to the Lord. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So the today's verses are 56 and 57. So these two verses are combined today by Prabhupada. So we will read and understand in combination. Te tu tat gaurava sarve. Te tu tat gaurava sarve. Tayakta krida prachidaha. Tayakta krida parichadaha. Bala audistadiyo. Bala audistadiyo. Dandva Rama Mireti Hiteha Dandva Rama Mireti Hiteha Te tu tat gaurava sarve Tayakta krida parichadaha Bala audistadiyo Dandva Rama Mireti Teha Te tu tat gaurava sarve Tayakta krida parichadaha Bala audistadiyo Dandva Rama Mireti Teha Te tu tat gaurava sarve Tayakta krida parichadaha Bala audistadiyo Dandva Rama Mireti Teha Te tu gaurava sarve Bala audistadiyo Te tu gaurava sarve Tayakta krida parichadaha Bala audistadiyo Te tu tat gaurava sarva Tayakta krida parichadaha Bala audistadiyo Mataji's Te tu tat gaurava sarve Okay, so we'll read the next verse just once. Paryupsata Rajendra Tannayastu Hardaye Siknaha Tan Aha Karuno Maitro Mahabhagavato Suraha. Now translation word by word. They, tu, indeed. Tat Gauravat, from great respect for the words of Prahlad Maharaj, due to his being a devotee. Sarve, all of them. Tayakta, having given up. Krida parichadaha, toys for playing. Bala, the boys. Adhishta dhyaya, whose intelligence was not as polluted as that of their fathers. Dvandva, indolity. Arama, of taking pleasure. The instructors, namely Sanda and Amarka. Hirita, by the instructions. Ihiteha, by actions. Paryupasta, sat down around. Rajendriya, O King Yudhishthira. Tat, unto him. Nayasta, having given up. Hardaya iksinaha, their hearts and eyes. Tan, unto them. Aha, spoke. Karunaha, very mercifully. Maitraha, a real friend. Mahabhagavat, a most excellent, exalted devotee. Asuraha, Prahlad Maharaj, although born through of an Asura father. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki. My dear King Yudhishthira, all the children were very much affectionate and respectful to Prahlad Maharaj. And because of their tender age, they were not so polluted by the instructions and actions of the teachers, who were attached to the condemned duality and bodily comfort. Thus, the boys surrounded Prahlad Maharaj, giving up their playthings, and sat down to hear him. Their hearts and eyes being fixed upon him, they looked at him with great earnestness. Prahlad Maharaj, although born in a demon family, was an exalted devotee, and he desired their welfare. Thus, he began instructing them about the futility of materialist life. Purport. The word Bala of this Dhyaya indicates that the children, being of a tender age, were not as polluted by materialistic life as their fathers. Prahlad Maharaj, therefore, taking advantage of the innocence of his class friends, began teaching them about the importance of spiritual life and the insignificance of material life. Although the teacher Sanda and Amarka were instructing all the boys in the materialistic life of religion, economic development and sense gratification, the boys were not much polluted. Therefore, with great attention, they wanted to hear from Prahlad Maharaj about Krishna consciousness. In our Krishna consciousness movement, the Gurukula plays an extremely important part in our activities, because right from childhood, the boys at the Gurukula are instructed about Krishna consciousness. Thus, they become steady within the course of their hearts. There is very little possibility that they will be conquered by the modes of material nature when they are older. Om Ajnana-trimindasya Jnana-jala-salakaya Chaksurulmitam Mena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Namo Om Ishtupadaya Krishnapadaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswadevi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pachata Desha Tarini Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavanda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna So this verse, both verse 56 and 57, you can see they are clearly glorifying the children, the classmates of Prahlad Maharaj and their innocence, and how they were very attentive to, teachings of Prahlad Maharaj. And also the verse next, that is 57, glorifies the great qualities of Prahlad Maharaj as Mahabhagavat. So as this is the last verses of the chapter, and looking at the context of this the verse, as you all know, the first chapter, the chapter begins with Hiranyakashipu's as a father desired to send his son to the school which was opened by Śrīmad. Śrīmad was spiritual master of Hiranyakashipu, and he had a Gurukul, you can say Śrīmad Vidyapitam or Śrīmad school. So there, at that time, Śrīmad was not in the school. He was maybe doing pilgrimage. Okay, so he's on tour. So at that time, the in-charge teachers were his sons, Sandanamarka, and you will see here Sandamarka, and they were the teacher. So Hiranyakashipu sent Prahlad Maharaj, his son, to the school, just like materially we also send our children to the school. Correct? The moment they become 4 or 5 or 6, we send them to prep, and then to the rest, grade 1 to the 6, like primary school, then so that is the tender age. So at the age of 5, so Prahlad Maharaj was sent to the school at the age of 5. So with the hope that, so he will learn the art of diplomacy. Because Hiranyakashipu expected his son to be the next king, successor. So the king has to be very diplomatic in dealing with the citizens, his ministers, soldiers. So very diplomatic, very important. Then of course, obviously, along with the diplomacy, you also have to develop the universe, because Hiranyakashipu was the king of the universe, not just earthly planet, not just lower planet, but also upper planets. Okay, the entire universe is ruled at that time by Hiranyakashipu. So you need to have even better diplomacy. There you not only deal with humans, but you also have to deal with demigods, devatas like Indra, Varuna, Chandra. Then you also have to deal with other demonic people also. Correct? So diplomacy was very important. So that was one of the important lesson Hiranyakashipu wanted his son to learn. So therefore he chose the right teachers, Sandanamarka. So after the first, he went to Gurukul, then he comes back to house. At that time, he was asked, what is the best thing that you have learned in your school from your teachers? So first time he talks about the futility of, this material existence. In fact, he said that the best thing anyone who got a human life, what should he do? He should go to Vana, like holy places such as Vrindavan, and there you surrender to the lotus feet of Supreme Lord. So that was the first teachings. And of course, so here Prahlad Maharaj was essentially sharing teaching that he learned from his real spiritual master, that is Narada Muni. So then again he thought, what is going on? Maybe this innocent child is corrupted. He again sent back to the Gurukul. So he studied, some weeks, and again comes back to the palace. So at that time, second time when he came, he did straight Dandavat Pranam. The moment a child, 6-year son, 5-year son, did the Dandavat Pranam, so he became this father, Hiranyakashipu, very affectionate, took him and put it on the lap. He didn't ask immediate questions, so he smelled his head and became very emotional, so much that even the tears were rolling from his eyes. He asked the same question. Oh, my son, please tell me what is the best thing you learned from your teachers. At that time, the answer of Prahlad was, Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. So this Navavidha Bhakti. Saravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Of course, Vandanam also included. Okay, so he explains Navavidha Bhakti glory. So basically he's praising Vishnu, that the best thing that he learned and the goal of life should be hearing glories of Supreme Lord, speaking glories of Supreme Lord. Then if you have got some time after that, think about Supreme Lord. Still if you have got time, glorify Supreme Lord, Vandanam. If you still have got time, do Archanam, do worship. Then of course do some seva too. Just like Madhis are doing garland, seva. Others are hearing, that is also seva. Okay? So those who are sitting hearing is also seva. So become his friend and complete surrender. So these are glorifying about importance and of being in connection with Supreme Lord. He became very angry. Then he actually pushed him down. Then after that he ordered his assistants, go and kill him. And assistants, they tried many ways to, kill, harm Prahlad. They were not successful. So this has actually created a big fear in the heart of and mind of Hiranyakashipu. Now you're thinking, this boy, I made so many attempts, my assistants have thrown him in from the cliff, from the hill, they have put him into fire, they have pierced him through a trident, and they even made elephants run over him. Nothing happened. So he thought, oh, this person is really fearless. Maybe because of him, I'm going to die. So he became very fearful. At that time, the teachers of Prahlad, Sanda and Amarka, they said, oh Maharaj, please don't worry. Just wait for our father to come. That is Śrīmad. Śrīmad will come back soon. He will, he knows how to handle this boy. So he will give him a right instruction. So there is the third, he went back to the school again, Gurukul. Now, today's verse is essentially talking about what is happening at Gurukul. Obviously, they are definitely teaching him, started teaching him Dharma, Artha, Kama. Actually, usually when we talk about Vedas, we talk about 4 Purushārthas. What are the 4? Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Moksha is actually given a lot of prominence. But here where the teachers of Prahlad Maharaj was only teaching 3 things. Dharma, Artha, Kama. So Dharma, doing some religious activities that will help you to attract more Artha, more economy, more money, more opulence, more wealth. Performing some yajna to attract wealth. Performing some rituals to attract wealth and glory and strength. So basically like health and the strength and the opulence. Then of course what do you do with all of that? Enjoy, sense enjoyment. So you will see that few verses earlier they mentioned about how they were focused so much on only those 3 things. And meanwhile when you go to school there is intermission, there is lunch break, correct? So you have a lunch break at primary school, Middle Park Primary School, correct? So what do you do at lunchtime? Play? Yeah, obviously you will assemble all your friends who will play and jump with you, dance with you, run around. That's what we do most of the time. And there's lunch break, and of course this lunch break time if you take a prasada from home, you will have prasada very quickly within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but the lunch break is for 1 hour. So remaining 50 minutes, playing around. So they also play time. So because the Sanda Marka, so went back to home, because their house is also nearby. If the house is nearby, what do? They don't bring any lunch kit. The kids might bring, but the teachers won't bring. They will just go to the home, so not only have lunch, but they also will attend some family affairs, correct? So looking after the requirements of the house requirement, family requirement, wife requirement, or other requirement, maybe buy some groceries or clean up something, if possible. So some activity. Anyway, during that period, so now in this case, they are Prahlad Maharaj and Bhakta Prahlad and his classmates. So it glorifies. The first it says, so today's one, Te tu tat gaurava sarve, all the boys were looking with gaurava. Gaurava means respect. Full respect for Prahlad Maharaj. Why? Because he was a devotee. They can see very transcendental quality in him. Very peaceful in nature, calm in nature, very friendly, very smiling. And whenever he speaks, very sweet word. The previous verse talked about. And how Prahlad was speaking to his friends with sweet words and smiling. Correct? If any among other classmates, if you have someone who speaks very sweetly and always smiling at you, you will get attracted to that person and will also show some respect. So here, Gaurava Sarve. Sarve means all. So all the boys. And not only they respected him, Tayak Krida Parichadaha. Tayak gave up. Krida means playing games. So then we have got Parichadaha, that is toys. To play games you need for example, you might have a football, correct? You have a ball to play. They gave up that ball also. Then, so these boys, they gave up because they are very much interested in associating with this smiling and sweetly speaking devotee, Prahlad, their classmate. So they gave up. Then after, giving up, they sat around him. That means Prahlad sat there and smiling at them. So asking, how are you? How is your life? So, is everything okay at home? Are you happy? What are you learning at home? So he's sweetly speaking. So he was very happy. So they thought, okay, let us sit around him. Looks like he has got something to say. Sat around. So with their full heart, so there you will see, Tan nayastu hardayek nastaha. With their eyes fully focused on him. When somebody is speaking, it is expected that the listeners look at the speaker. Similarly, speaker also look at listeners. Correct? Imagine, I am speaking, I am looking at somewhere back. So you will get bored. You say, this speaker is, what is this teacher? He is not even paying us attention. And students also will do the same thing. Even if you not only in primary school, same thing at high school, same thing at college, and the same thing at university. In university, one you have to be fully attentive, looking at everybody. That is called crowd control. So if you want to keep them focused here, so you have to be looking at them, making some smiling gesture, and they are also smiling. And if you're looking at them, they don't fall asleep. Otherwise, students will fall asleep. Yeah. So you have to maybe sometime, explain them a bit more interesting way. Maybe tell some jokes also in between here and there, if possible, in the context of that teaching. Whether it is a material education or spiritual education. So that is why sometime when we have discourses with lots of jokes, so the attendance will increase. Number of devotees attending increase. Correct? So they have more and more participants, more and more devotees attending classes. That's what happens. Or if they are not telling much jokes, but they may be giving you very high philosophy, very important for your life. Second. Or if that is not that, the person who is speaking may be very important. Very important position. So if he just sees you in the class, you need his help. Oh, good. So you are attending my class. You must be very good devotee. I will approve your request. Correct? So there are many reasons why we attend classes. Of course, finally, those who are truly devoted to Lord, they don't worry about the qualification of a speaker, whether he is an elevated person or a neophyte, or maybe just a pot washer in the temple, or he may be president of the temple. They don't worry about that. So they are very happy to listen. Even Prabhupada always said that doesn't matter who is speaking. What he is speaking is the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, so which is representation of the Supreme Lord. Anything which is spoken even in the broken language is also glorious. The person may not be a eloquent speaker. That's why Prabhupada always said, we need to hear this Śrīmad Bhāgavatam from the mouth of a devotee, even if he is not a eloquent speaker, even if his language is a little broken. So not from non-devotees. There are some devotees who are professional speakers. They speak eloquently. They tell you joke. You enjoy hearing. Then will you become devotee? No. Our heart is not transferred. We got some sense gratification. We heard something, glorious way, and then, seems like very pleasing to hear. But heart and mind are filled still with the dirt. There is no cheto darpana marjana. So it is very important that one who is devoted, and only that person can give you devotion. Correct? If you ask me, say, $1,000, I can only give you $1,000 if I have myself 1,000 or at least 1,001. Correct? If I am also a pauper, what can I give you? Correct? I can't give you money. Correct? So here, the devotee who have got Lord in their heart, the devotees carries Lord in their heart. So such, if you hear from such devotees, our heart get transformed. Okay? So that is why it is important to hear. So in this case, all these classmates of Prahlad Maharaj, they sat around him. So, and then they are looking at him attentively and also with eyes and heart. Because sometimes our mind is there and we are looking at but our heart is not there. That heart also has to be there to receive those instructions. Okay, clearly. So that is what these kids are doing. Then this Bala Audista Diho. So Prabhupada start with the word Bala Audista Diho. Here what it indicates? It indicates that the children are not polluted, very innocent. Prabhupada also compare, to the fathers. So those who have, the fathers are actually, he says, very polluted. If you see the instruction, Prabhupada is clearly mentioning how the fathers were polluted. The fathers of these other classmates, so they were fully associating with Hiranyakashipu and taking his orders and doing the service to him. So they were simply focused on sense gratification. So those who are fully addicted to sense gratification, the devotion for Krishna will not arise. So that is why, sometimes we think, sense gratification, the devotion, we can make a parallel line, we can go together. Keep enjoying the senses and also do some devotional service. Yes, those who are doing devotional service, they are also enjoying, actually, they are not suffering. Correct? So they are engaging senses, but they are engaging senses in transcendental activity, transcendental hearing, transcendental speaking. But usually those who are, demonic qualities, those who are working under Hiranyakashipu, most of them virtually were also having demonic qualities, simply addicted to kama and economic development, artha and kama. So these days, generally when you go to school, when you go to middle class private school, very rarely they talk about, your duty as a human. So do they talk about how to develop love of God? Do they teach you who is God? No, they teach you usually ABCD. So who is the richest person in Australia, and how you also need to become richest person. How you should also open one hospital, maybe in the mode of goodness, so that you can help. So that is the focus. Then they will teach you various techniques. So as you progress, from primary school to university, all the way towards university. Say for example, you go to University Melbourne or MIT, of the university. There usually you pick up something about how to build next robot. What does it do? It will help you. So when we have next robot will come and clean the temple. I'll clean the place. We'll make a prasada for you. At least engaging robot in service of Krishna is better. But most of the place, first when they create a robot, hardly anyone even engages in any higher service, the service of themselves. I am sure you might have seen those who fly to India, other countries, suppose if you pass through Singapore. So their robot, will come and clean. Then the moment you finish your eating, just leave and go. The robot will come, pick up your plate and put it their place. And then you will give it to another robot which will wash. Correct? So they are engaging our mind. Mind has intelligence. Correct? Mind has intelligence. Otherwise it's a dull mind. So whenever mind has intelligence, what do? We use that intelligence how to create the next generation technology that will simply serve us. But now they are saying don't overdo it. So these robots with that intelligence which is called artificial intelligence, this computer program called AI, artificial intelligence, is going to extinguish the human race. Next worry. So right now government is saying that, let us not overdo this. We have to control, otherwise they will take over a job. Then, not only take over a job, we become dull because of that. We don't have any work to do. Your intelligence will improve if you are engaged in some activity. Correct? So if you want to become a very good artist, to draw a beautiful picture like Rasandari Mataji, correct? You see some of these beautiful paintings of Lord and the pastimes you see around. Who is creating? Some of them were by Rasanandani Mataji. So the Mataji today not here, but those I'm sure many of you know. Mataji does. How did she do this? By practice. She engaged her mind constantly, starting with simple picture, then become perfected. So there you see Sadbuja Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? That one. So that was created during lockdown time. Lockdown, nobody can come to the temple. Even Mataji didn't come to the temple. What did she do? Use her time to, this Sadbuja form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and create such a beautiful picture. So you can engage that way. So this requires constant practice and art. And when you do this, our intelligence also will improve. Our thoughts will improve. Our imagination will improve. Just being here, even though lockdown, one can see what is happening in Vaikuntha Loka, then create a picture accordingly. So many beautiful pictures you see in the book, where, sometimes devotees, what do? So they might just, read a verse, then they imagine. Say for example, so here are the Jai Vijaya. They read that in Vaikuntha Loka, Sarupa, you will have a same Sarupa as Narayana. They thought, yes, in that case, the Jai Vijaya will be looking like all, four-handed with club, correct? So they created one. And then it was told, these Kumaras, 4 Kumaras, the sons of Brahma, they didn't want to engage in, they didn't want to become Prajapatis, to create, more people, Prajapatis. Instead they said, no, we don't accept your command. Because the moment Brahma produces his first instruction was, go and produce more people, more children. That was the command, order used to give. And whereas these refused, they said, no, we don't want to become Grahasthas. We just want to dedicate it. So they were so much dedicated, even though they were aged, but they were looking like a 5-year-old. So therefore, usually, 5-year-old means like a little boys. They may be not wearing dress like kings, correct? They were just naked. And with their power, they went to Vaikuntha Loka. And there they were stopped by, Jaya and Vijaya. So they created this beautiful picture. This was probably created during 1970. The picture was drawn by devotees. One of the disciples of Prabhupada at young age, something like 22, 23. Other devotees like Jadurani. You heard about Jadurani? Yeah, if you read Prabhupada pastimes in New York, so there was the devotee called Jadurani. Young, 22 years, she was excellent in drawing. So Prabhupada, as he speaks, from that she imagined, then of course created somehow like this beautiful artist. Yeah, so engagement is important. So here you can see that beautiful one. So material art, any art, activities has to be performed. So performing activities in service and then when you hear, and that's what will happen. When some speakers are speaking, even in your mind, I am hoping that in your mind you created a Gurukul where Prahlad Maharaj is sitting, around him the students, his classmates are there, and Prahlad Maharaj smiling and speaking sweetly. The kids were very eager and looking at him and with their full heart dedicated. And here, so in the verse you also see, these children's, Prabhupada is appreciating that Bala Audista Diyaya. Bala means these boys, Audista Diyaya, their mind is not polluted like their father. Because usually when our mind is addicted to this kind of gratification, as we discuss, the faith in Lord will not appear, nor the desire to become God consciousness, Krishna consciousness will not appear. So that is happening. So not only that, the mind of these classmates of Prahlad is not only polluted, but they also didn't take the teachings of Sandharmarka seriously. Sandharmarka were primarily teaching about the dharma, artha, kama, that's it. So it didn't go that much into their head. Usually if you talk too much about kama to the children, they may not understand too much. But as they progress towards this Kaumara to Yavana, they start developing such desires, but they didn't. So here they were becoming essentially Krishna consciousness by hearing. So here Prahlad Maharaj, Prabhupada says in the purport that so he was glorifying, and teaching those children about importance of spiritual life. At the same time, he is also teaching insignificance quality of this material life. So usually the materialistic life is simply engaged in what we call, eating, mating, sleeping, depending. Those are the primary activities. Okay? Although this seems like bodily requirement, so focus only on that, earning money, then engage in sense gratification, and then of course when you get tired, sleep, then again wake up, then of course defending, you have to defend your position. So that is what is happening also. Once you go to university, you become an expert researcher. What do you research on? If you are a physicist, physics guy, what do you do? You might think about nuclear weapons. Those are called guided missiles. Then what do you do with those missiles? Threat neighborers. Correct? Not only neighborers, the people who are away from you, 10,000 kilometers away from you, even threat them also. That is what you hear most of the time in the newspapers. That this fellow, this country threatening that country threatening other country, this fellow is, troubling other, murdering, all sorts of things. That's what the newspapers are these days about. If they were to be a newspaper of Vaikuntha Loka, if you have a newspaper that constantly speaks about what is happening in different Vaikuntha planets, so actually the Guru of Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, so if you have a facility to print the best, printing machine, we can print every hour newspaper. And what do they speak there? So we can glorify, we can actually report what is happening in different planets in Vaikuntha Loka. In the spiritual world, there are many, many planets, many, many Vaikuntha planets. Yeah, so the planet where Narasimhadev is the presiding deity, the planet where Sri Ramachandra is the presiding deity, the planet where Narayana is the presiding deity. And of course, Lord Krishna has innumerable Vishnu forms. Correct? In each of the planet, Vaikuntha planet, so much is happening. So we are getting so many newspapers. What is happening just in small Australia? Think of spiritual world. Spiritual world is actually more than 75% of material world. Our material is 25%. Within this 25%, we have so many universes. And among millions of universes, just one where we are. That is our universe. Within this universe, there are so many planets. And this Australia is just one earthly planet. This earthly planet, within that we have small country Australia, then small Victoria, then small Melbourne, small Albert Park, and then small temple. Correct? So just this Melbourne, Victoria, there is a dedicated newspaper called The Age. The Age newspaper is dedicated for Victoria, Victoria News, generally, most of it. For Sydney, Sydney Morning Herald. Correct? For Brisbane, Brisbane's Times. For Western Australia, WA Times, Western Australia Times, because Victoria, Australia has only few cities, so they have Victoria, yeah. You can see newspapers are there. So Bhaktivedanta Maharaj says, if we have the facility to print and distribute, we will print a newspaper of Vaikuntha Loka things happening there every hour. So every hour you will be so much engaged in hearing what is happening in this Vaikuntha Loka, how devotees are glorifying, what is their pastime, how they are serving, how they are jubilant and dancing with Krishna, how Krishna is carrying them, and how Krishna is protecting them from different dangers they are coming across. Yeah, all this new. So what we hear here, so these books are little static, correct? Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, were originally composed by Vasudeva. And that's it, the same books, 5,500 years ago. Correct? So what is happening in another time, we are yet to hear for the next yuga. When this is finished, again we start with Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. So we will get new books, correct? New books with new pastimes of Lord. So, but if you have a divine vision, so just like these classmates, we're very attentively hearing, very attentively looking at him. So if you close your eyes and see how that scene, you can imagine, correct? It will be a beautiful forest, not the jungle buildings, the beautiful palace, some few huts which are Gurukul, then behind very nice tree, preferably mango tree. Mangoes are also ripened. Then you hear, then if you become hungry, just pick up a mango and eat. That's how Gurukul used to be. In fact, in the primary school where I studied, in our village, so during intermission, what do? Play. But some of us will jump fence of another field. There was a nice mango tree, climb and pick up a mango. That is during mango season. Correct? So then other season where, other fruits were there. So pick up those fruits and run. When the owner of the field comes, so we run around. Then we used to run and jump the fence. So this way you learn the art of high jump also. Correct? So there is no special ground for high jump, long jump. So our high jump is just how do you jump? You run in such a way that you can jump the fence. The fence were made through thorn, not through like here. Correct? They take wood, thorn woods, and they will be this height. Actually, a little higher. So you should be able to jump. So you get exercise also. But this pastime. But anyway, you can imagine there. So in Vaikuntha Loka, there is no such restriction. Correct? So nobody claimed their property. Correct? They all claim that this is all belong to Supreme Lord Krishna. Anybody can go pick up fruit from any house, any fruit, any tree. There were no such constraint, correct? If you walking on the Albert Park, you see thousands of lemons. You think, oh, why don't I pick up some? Why I buy from the Coles or some shops? But the owners are happy for them to fall down and get wasted. But if you pick up, some owners may be not liking it. In Australia, they're okay, no problem. They say pick up. But if you do the same thing in America, finished. You read American news all the time that even if you throw a ball into the neighbor, some become angry and bring a rifle and shoot. You hear this is all the time. The kids kick a ball into other fence, other side, and the kids are going just to pick up. Just for that only people become so angry. Because there they can have these weapons freely available to anybody. So they go and shoot. This is happening. Not only there, it's also happening in the school as well. You go to primary school, very danger. Yeah, so, but in Vaikuntha Loka, that is not the case. And during Satya Yoga, when Prabhupada was teaching, that's very beautiful. You can see, you can imagine. So then, what is he teaching and what is his quality? So you see the last statement. Tan aha karuno maitro mahabhagavata suraha. Karuna means very compassionate. Then of course, as a compassionate classmate. Karuna and also maitri, friendly. When someone is very friendly to you, very compassionate to you, what do? They tell you what is best for you. Correct? So they tell you what is good for you. Not only now, but also when you become old. Correct? So when you develop qualities that will keep you healthy, if you eat Krishna Prasad in a moderate. But Krishna says, eat prasada. Yuktahara viharasya. We have to eat, definitely. But don't overeat just because prasada is there, very opulent, gulab jamuns, pick up 5 gulab jamun and glob. So it may be tasty at that time, but later it will give you problem. What is that called? Sugar disease, diabetes, for example, or some other problem. So we have to be moderate. So Krishna is telling that in Bhagavad Gita. Yuktahara viharasya. Not only eating, but also sleeping. Don't sleep like lazy for 14-15 hours. Just sleep 8 hours, 7 hours. Then you also need to have recreation. Correct? He is talking about all of this. Yuktahara, regulated. Yuktahara viharasya. So very important. So regulated. And in that mood, so as a friendly and a kind person, Prahlad Maharaj, who is called as Mahabhagavata. Who is saying this statement? Narada Muni. Narada Muni is the guru of Prahlad Maharaj. And this guru is telling, my disciple, who is only 5-year-old. What is the age in Gurukul? 5 years, just like this Gopal, just like that, 5 years. Your brother, correct? Gokul, no, his name? Yeah, Gokul, one who resides in Gokul Dham. So just 5 years, and he is calling him as a Mahabhagavata. A 5-year-old Mahabhagavata. Yes, calling. And this Mahabhagavata is teaching how to become Krishna conscious. How to become mindful of Krishna. We always want to be. These days in school they've got mindful session. You have mindful session in mindful session? Usually there are mindful session in the school where my daughter used to go, in Clayton. So mindful session. I asked them, what do you do in mindful session? They said, we just assemble at 9 o'clock in one room. All the kids just sit down, don't talk. That is the austerity for children. Here you see, whenever your Bharat Bhanusan comes here, so he engages them in play. He will start sometime new Bhagavatam class also. Yeah. So mindful. So making mind quiet in this 21st century itself is a austerity. Just sitting down for 10 minutes, mindfulness. They might play soothing music. Not that disco dance music. Soothing. The one, especially the Abhajanist play. You heard about Abhajanist music? They take a long flute type, then they play very nicely. So some like mode of goodness, and you feel very comfort and feel happy. So they play that way. At least your mind is, calm for 10 minutes. Then they can go to the classroom and where they can hear from the teacher. Mindfulness. Yeah. So here, Prahlad Maharaj is actually making them mindful of Supreme Lord, and he glorifying the importance of the spiritual activity. So all this Sravanam, Kirtanam, to all the way to Atmanivedanam, Navavida Bhakti, and impressing their mind how glorious they are. And when you follow this, your life will become successful. And Prabhupada says this Gurukul is very important project for ISKCON. So where this is start. In Prabhupada even he says that, so when our children become Krishna conscious, Prabhupada says that there is a great hope for the future of the world. This world, the great hope, great future. So it is very important to make this Krishna consciousness. In fact, Prabhupada says that for parents, if you have option between doing deity worship or garland duty worship, or taking care of children and making them Krishna conscious, which is important. Some of the Matajis, they thought, let me engage in deity service and then hand over this baby to somebody else. They will take care. Correct? That's what they thought. And what was the Prabhupada's reply? That was in 1972. So this was, Prabhupada usually they write a letter, Prabhupada, I'm here, I'm doing service, what should I, like this. Prabhupada, read this here. What is going on here? Immediately replies by a letter saying that for you, in your case, the worship of your child is more important than worship of deity. Let others do deity worship. You make your child Krishna consciousness. Because of that person, we will have a better leader, better guide for the world, and then world future will be great. Correct. So he is emphasized a lot in the context. So therefore, the Matajis who are making their sons and daughters as Krishna conscious, and at the tender age, it will impress in their mind. When they go to university, they might get a little distracted, but again they will come back. Anyone in their childhood perform deity worship. When they go to university in association of other people, maybe they will become little atheist for some short period. Then later again they will come back. Yeah. So for example, I was also like that. Okay. So why go? So at childhood, as a first son in the family, so then it was my duty to do worship in this the room where the deities are kept. And then of course after the bhoga is prepared, you take it to the Hanuman temple, offer it to the Hanuman, for example, bring back, then only everybody is eligible to have meal. So that was my duty. Then after going to university, then completely like atheist. Then again after some period, then we come back. So that it improves, there is chance. So gradually it will be 100% Krishna conscious throughout. But if there is a lag in between, but they will come back. So it is very important for... So by doing, what are they doing? They are making their consciousness Krishna conscious, that is divine consciousness. If they make this, what happens? Their intelligence that they got becomes spiritual. Everyone has a head. Inside there is a brain, and brain has intelligence. Intelligence can be too much focus on material activity, dharma, artha, kama, or the intelligence do dharma, artha, kama, keeping Krishna at the center, then become moksha, beyond moksha actually. So that way they will be more conscious of Krishna throughout, and their intelligence will become spiritual. Imagine you have got intelligence but there is spiritual, what happens? And our mind is working under the guidance of intelligence, then mind will be steady. Otherwise we will get disturbed for small thing. Somebody spoke little harsh word, then you get disturbed, become morose, get into anxiety. But the person who is specialist, he will not, so he is beyond this duality. So this Sandha Marka, he says Dvandva, the verse he says the Dvandva. So Dvandva means this duality. Who are in Dvandva consciousness? Those teachers of, instructors of Prahlad Maharaj and classmates, Sandha Marka. So like, we become elated when you are appreciated, and become morose when you are criticized. But if you are intelligent and steady, you will not become morose. You will take it equally, equipost. That's what devotee do. So you can tolerate those onslaught of criticism also. So you will become, your mind will become steady. And when your mind is steady, obviously you will be peaceful in spite of the challenges that you face. And when you are peaceful, what happens? You are always happy. So why are these devotees are always happy, even though they may not have 1 million bank balance? They are happy because their mind is steady. Their mind is steady because their intelligence is spiritualized. Correct? All the dirt gone. Only purity is left. And this purity came because of their consciousness becoming Krishna consciousness. So this is very, very important. Making children Krishna conscious is very, very important. And then finally, the final, it says, Maha Bhagavato Asuraha. Mahabhagavata. Who is Mahabhagavata here? Prahlad Maharaj is the Mahabhagavata, 5-year-old. And what are these 5-year quality? So he is, compassionate, karuna, then maitro. Not only that, he is not only compassionate and karuna for his classmate, these Mahabhagavatas are the one who are compassionate to all kinds of living entities. Whether they are a dog, or a dog eater, or a brahmana, or even big learned pandit, or even elephant. You see in one of the verse, Krishna says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Suni Chaiva Swapakacha Pandita Samadarshanaha. Pandita, this Muni, the devotee, a saintly person, has equal vision. Whether he sees Lord in elephant, he sees Lord in Suni, in dog, he sees Lord in Brahmana, and he sees Lord in even the dog eater. And not only that, he sees Lord in tree also. So that is why they are not interested. A saintly person, if you give him an axe and ask him to cut a tree, he will refuse. But on the other hand, you give to somebody, he says, you cut it, I will give you $200, immediately you will cut it, even if it is a tulsi tree. Correct? The tulsi, if you give him $200, you go and cut the tree, so he will do it. But if it is a devotee, a saintly person, no, even if you give $1 million, you will not accept it. Correct? $1 million is insignificant in front of tulsi. Correct? Just by having a glance of tulsi, just by smelling tulsi leaf, person become a devoted. These 4 Kumaras were Gnana-yogis, grannies. Simply by selling a tulsi leaf from the lotus feet of Vishnu, they became Mahabhaktas. Yeah, so that is the glory. By paying $1 million, you can't become a devotee. But simply by having a smell of a leaf of a tulsi, you become devotee. So it is very significant. So that is why the devotees are Samadarshini. Whether it is a tree, even tree also they look at. And of course, in the later also you will see. So these devotees, you can say they are in multiple platforms. So here we say they are in platform, they are called as Kanishta Adhikaris at the lowest platform. The middle called Madhyama Adhikari. Then the highest one is called Uttama Adhikari. So these Mahabhagavatas are Uttama Adhikaris. They don't discriminate between different people, different race, different body, different species, trees. They see Krishna everywhere. And they see everything in Krishna. Correct? They are Mahabhagavats. So Mahabhagavat. So Uttama Adhikari is a Mahabhagavat. And of course here, all of them are actually, whether they are Kanishta Adhikari, the neophyte devotees, or the Madhyama Adhikaris, the middle, then the highest, Uttama Adhikari, that is the elevated, exalted devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. So they all have full faith on Krishna. But their knowledge of scriptures may be varying. The Uttama Adhikari is full of scripture knowledge and the full devotion. Not only that, they may not be able to discriminate between this devotee, that devotee. They see Lord in everybody's heart. When they see, they may not see, they see, okay, Supreme Lord is there in heart, his heart, all are equal. And he sees them as a part and parcel of Krishna. Like Krishna says, Mama Mama says, Jiva Lokya Jiva Bodhanata. That is the theory. Correct? We all read in Bhagavad Gita. Mama Mama says, Jiva Lokya Jiva Bodha Sanata. Manasthani Indriyani Prakastani Karsiti. So Krishna is saying that all the living entities are part and parcel of me. But because of this conditioning in this world, they are suffering from senses and also mind. Correct? Not only suffering from senses requirement, but also mind. Mind is also desiring so many things. So that is the Uttama, Adhikari. So here, just to conclude, you can see this, the last summary is glorifying innocent qualities of classmates of Prahlad and also transcendental qualities of Prahlad. In simple word, Mahabhagavata. The Guru is saying that. Guru is recognizing, here is my disciple, 5-year-old, he is a Mahabhagavata. And who is Guru? Narada Muni. The Narada Muni is a Guru for people in Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and also Kali Yuga too. The Narada Muni is there, whereas we, even in the Kali Yuga, maximum of life is 100 years. Whereas the Narada Muni is, all yugas he is there. He is a Vaikuntha man. Just by will he can go to Vaikuntha. Can we go to Vaikuntha? Forget about Vaikuntha, we can't go to moon planet. Correct? Even going to moon planet, people are making so much of attempt, creating Sputnik, creating this, creating that, moon mission, Mars mission. Missions are happening. And spending billions of dollars just to go to moon. Who? Not even humans or Mars. Sometimes they're sending monkey. Not even monkey. Monkey also don't want to go there. Because if you go there, there is no oxygen. What are you going to do there? There is no banana tree. What are you going to eat? There are no other female monkeys. What are you going to enjoy there? No, they don't want to go. So they are sending a robot like this with one camera. They will go there and see what is there. And that also not successful. The camera fell down. Correct? Sometimes the stick is not good. It will fall down. That's what happened to the recent mission, Mars mission, moon mission of India. Chandrayana. That was a big mission and spent so much of money that happened. And then at that time, the chairman of Indian Space Organization, he is crying. In front of whom? Not Vishnu. He is crying in front of Modi, Prime Minister, because he has to fund that project, next project. Oh, he said, don't worry, no problem. You have done your best attempt. I'm going to fund another one. So you can start next mission. Soon you will see another mission launched to go to moon and also Mars. Yeah. So anyway, so you can see, so making the kids Krishna consciousness, especially mother, father, those who do, they are the most generous. Prabhupada says, generous, very generous father, generous mother, who will make the daughter, who will make the son Krishna conscious. If they do that, then the world will be great. Future is great. Yeah. So please make, and then of course with these Mahabharata qualities, just by simply hearing teachings of Prahlad Maharaj, we will become also slowly from neophyte to Madhyama, then to pure devotees. It will take time, it's a lifetime project. Correct? If not, also no problem. Because you did this, Krishna will give you that memory buddhi. At last breath, you will go back, whether you are Mahabharata or not. Correct? Prabhupada says, anyone who chants 16 hours per day, follows for a regulated principle, I will make sure that Vaikuntha door is open. If the front door, Jaya Vijaya not allowing you, he says, don't worry, I will go, I know the key to the back door, and open and you can come through the back door. Correct? Jaya Vijayas are very strict. Okay, but Prabhupada says, because you followed, and in Kali Yuga, staying in Melbourne, doing 16 rounds is not easy. And if you have done it, the door I will open from the back. Just like sometime we want to come here during that lockdown, this was locked. Officially only who can allow you? The one who has a key. Just because you have a key, you can't even allow also. Because if this message goes to, say, Achintara Mataji, new rule will be passed. Your key will be taken back and you will also be banned. Correct? This all happened, okay? This all happens. But anyway, so they may allow, but anyway, they don't have any lockdown there. So they don't have any coronavirus, anything like that. So there is full, free, correct? Healthy all the time. Okay? So let me stop here and thank you very much. Any questions and comment? Maybe you have one, no? Please give it to me. So please ask. Please give it to her.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the nice class. Prabhuji, you mentioned how Prahlad Maharaj, when he was preaching to his friends, they became kind and respectful towards him because Prahlad Maharaj was a realized soul and his preaching was much more effective. But we as sadhakas, when we preach, we don't get the same reaction. They sometimes become upset with us and sometimes they start blaspheming us. So how can we make our preaching better?
Thank you. Yes. Yes, I agree that when Prahlad was preaching, the classmates were fire and they were very, eager, respectful to him because he was a Mahabhagavat, very nice devotee. So when we preach, sometimes preaching is not easy. So you have very favorable audience, so they are very helpful to you. So much helpful. Suppose if you are having some cold, they will immediately go and get one, tissue for to wash. And if you are feeling cough, they will bring the water, and you can drink water also. Okay. So, but those who are not favorable, if you are teaching faithless people, you will definitely come across opposition. Some of them can quarrel with you, fight with you. Correct? This even happened to Prabhupada also. Now that to us. So some of the times Prabhupada was giving big pandal, discourse, Bhagavad discourse. At that time, some people get up and argue with Prabhupada for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. They argue. Yes, definitely. So we should also be able to defend glory of Supreme Lord. We are not defending our knowledge. So what we are defending is the glorious position of Supreme Lord. In preaching, what are we preaching? We are primarily preaching the glories of Supreme Lord, and we are primarily preaching what is the duty of human life as per Krishna's teaching. This is not our teaching. Correct? The book is not ours. This is not our knowledge. Bhagavad Gita is from Krishna. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is from Vyasa Muni, who is also incarnation of Supreme Lord. Correct? It's all teaching from there. So therefore, if you have realization, not just a jnana, so we should be able to explain them in their level with analogy. So Prabhupada has defeated them by giving them a simple analogy they can understand. Because this is very high philosophy. Only Mahabhagat can understand. Or at least some neophyte devotee can understand this. They are not even neophyte. Correct? They are atheistic quality. And you are teaching them, preaching them. So therefore, how do you preach them? So the level of preaching. So we have to go to very, very low level. Suppose you say, oh, these senses are very danger. They are our enemy. In verse number 38, it was said that, these indriyas are enemies of everyone, including yogis. Correct? Even the great yogis, even for them also their enemy. Forget about us. So if you explain them, you see this fish getting attached to some meat, lost the life. You explain them with example. Whereas this human is attached to all of them, what is his position? Correct? Therefore, it is very important for them to regulate the senses. If you want to enjoy senses, follow rules and regulation, be moderate. So you can convince that level. Next level, why is God is the supreme? Then you can tell them, look where I am standing, this earth, where is it? It is floating in air. Do you agree or not? They say, yes. How is it floating? There is energy. What is that energy? They will say gravitational force. And that gravitational force is the force, the energy is the Supreme Lord. Krishna, Supreme Lord is energetic. So he is the one who has all kinds of energy, spiritual energy and material energy. Through his material energy, he is putting them in position. If there is a small shake, the earth shake little, what happens? Even the temple shakes. During lockdown, temple was shaken. So I can give example. I was here, lockdown, and by mercy of devotees, I was allowed to come here. So I was doing chanting there, and I see all moving. I thought maybe my mind is moving, because sometimes I'm doing like this. Then after 10 minutes, devotees come. Is everything okay here? Everything okay? Because they thought maybe sometime the deities might fall down or something happened. Yeah. So if you explain them at that level with the word analogy, they will slowly come forward. Then Prabhupada said that no problem. After that, you say this is a time for having delicious prasada. Go and enjoy. Yeah? So that's why chanting, dancing and feasting. Don't even tell them philosophy. Just hear the music, let them dance. After dancing they become tired. Whatever food was there in the stomach is digested. Now you give them gulab jamun, they enjoy. Yeah, so that is the way we can preach at different level. Yeah, in your case at class, in your school, if you are a nice person and they get enlightened. Because when we had this, our Swami was your age. So various kids from neighbor, the Greek kids and other English kids and all from our neighboring Clayton, they used to come here, 20 years ago to the temple. They come here, first time, these are Greek origin, the parents were Greeks. the kid come, similar age like you, he goes to house, then he's singing, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. The parents come ask, our daughter, came with your daughter to the, I don't know where they gone. Now she come to house, he's singing, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. My wife told them that, this is something, a song glorifying Supreme Lord, in the temple, so they might have learned there. Now she's very upset. We are taking this child to the church. There they are not sitting and even, praying. They are playing around. Whereas this girl goes to some Hindu temple, Indian temple, now comes back and says, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. So basically association. If you are association with friends who are very nice, and of course who give you prasada, these kids come to our house and we used to give them chapati and sabji, they enjoyed for sabji. Then they go to backyard, so we had a plaything, they enjoyed, they come to temple, enjoyed. Yeah, so association, so you be a nice person and your classmates will also be nice and sometimes they hear to you. So that is one of the preaching. If you're doing a formal preaching, yeah, so we can at that level, the levels of preaching. That's why Prabhupada said that you come to Madhyamadikari level, then based on Kala, time, place and circumstances, accordingly they will adjust their teaching. So that is why you know the audience. Who are these people who are sitting there? Based on that you change your preaching. Let's say I am giving the same verse to the neophytes who are new people. I will speak differently. The same verse I am speaking to student of IITs. Last time you asked me about this IITs, correct? I will preach them differently. Correct? So if you see some of, where I or any other devotee also, so they use their own analogy to preach. If I am speaking to IT, the guys who will make AI and robots, I will teach them about how there was one great computer scientist called Steve Jobs, who is the founder of Apple computers, who created iPhone, and this fellow was a devotee. Then they will get impressed. But I don't have to tell here, but I will tell there. Yeah, so then they will think, Steve Jobs, I'm having iPhone, I'm using his creation. Let me also become like this fellow, become devotee, and also create next new iPhone, because iPhones are constantly released. Now iPhone 15. I want to create iPhone 20. I want to go and join iPhone 20. That team Apple, then create iPhone 20. So my mind also has to be steady to create the iPhone 20. Yeah. So at least you teach them how to make your mind steady. That way you can create complex devices. Okay?